What if the fastest way to be more persuasive, more trusted, and more effective was to say less, not more? Not because you're hiding your ideas, but because you're creating the kind of space where other people's real thoughts finally show up. This book makes a bold promise. When you master the art of understanding first, before advice, before arguments, before performance, you unlock better outcomes with less effort. People relax around you. Problems reveal their roots. Solutions feel obvious because they grow from ground you prepared instead of ground you tried to control. The shift begins with presence. Most of us look like we're listening while we quietly plan our turn. Real presence feels different in the body. Your breath slows, your shoulders drop, your eyes steady, your attention widens. You're not drafting a rebuttal. You're noticing words, tone, pace, where the story tightens, where it loosens, where the speaker looks away for a split second because the emotion is heavy. You let the first wave pass without fixing anything. That quiet is not empty. It is the soil where clarity germinates. People don't open up because you talk beautifully. They open up because your silence is safe. The book introduces 3 levels of listening. Internal listening hears everything through the static of your own opinions and plans. It's where beginners live. Focused listening is better. You put your ego on mute and give full attention to the other person's words and feelings. Global listening is best. You sense the whole room. Energy, context, timing, what is unsaid. You catch micro signals like a long exhale or a careful word that point to the heart of the matter. Your goal is to operate mostly at focused and global, and return to internal only to check your intentions. From presence, the author moves to the listening loop. Receive. Reflect, clarify. Advance. Receive means you let words land without interrupting or polishing the ending for them. Reflect means you mirror the gist in your own language so the speaker hears their thoughts returned clean and organized. Clarify means you ask one simple question that sharpens the picture. Advance means you suggest a tiny next step that fits their world, not yours. This loop builds trust fast because it proves you're here to understand, not to win. Empathy is the book's backbone, and it's carefully defined. Empathy is not agreement. You can validate a feeling without endorsing a conclusion. When you say it makes sense that you'd feel backed into a corner after that email, you're not picking sides. You're naming reality. Naming feelings calms the nervous system and allows better thinking. The author teaches short labels that lower heat. Sounds like you're worried the deadline is unrealistic. Seems like you're frustrated the plan changed without you. Feels like you want a fair shot at explaining your approach. Short, light, curious. These labels say I see you. When people feel seen, their brain leaves defense mode and joins problem-solving mode. Great questions, the book says, do 2 jobs at once. They pull richer information and they reduce defensiveness. Swap interrogation for exploration. Instead of, why did you do that? Try what led you there or what were you optimizing for at the time. Use questions that aim at outcomes. How would we know this is working by Friday? What would make this feel fair to you? Where is the risk hiding that we haven't named? Questions that start with how, what, where, and when tend to open doors. Questions that start with why often slam them unless your relationship is strong and your tone is warm. Listening is physical as much as mental. Align your body like an open parenthesis. Angle slightly. Hands relaxed. Chin level. Keep your voice a half beat slower than your nerves want. That unhurried tempo signals safety. Use back-channel cues that show you're with them without stealing airtime. A soft a nod, a brief that makes sense when they pause. When you need to steer or slow down, do it with kindness. Give me a second. I want to make sure I'm catching this. Or can I try to summarize the last part to see if I've got it? Those lines are like guardrails. They keep the conversation from rolling down the hill. Summary is leverage, so it gets a whole chapter. A crisp, fair summary makes people feel understood and surfaces disagreements early. Use the short, shorter, shortest pattern. First mirror back a few sentences with the key facts and feelings. Then condense to one line that captures the essence. Finally, ask for a check. What did I miss or get wrong? When people correct your summary, they correct it in the direction of truth. So you win either way. You either nailed it or you just got a better map. Understanding first doesn't mean you abandon your point of view. It means you earn the right to share it. Order matters. Seek to understand, then be understood. Once you've mirrored accurately, your opinion lands softer and hits smarter because it is tailored to what matters to them. You're not dumping information. You're placing a single brick on a foundation you built together. Conflict has a dignity protocol. Describe what happened without guessing motives. State the impact on you or the work. Ask for one clear change. When the other person fires back, cycle the loop again. Receive, reflect, clarify, advance. Don't fight over the first draft of a sentence. Rebuild it together. You can say, I think we're arguing about a sentence neither of us wants. What are we trying to protect? That question shifts the battle from positions to values, and values are easier to align. Negotiation changes flavor when you listen for constraints. Instead of pushing harder, design questions that create movement. What would have to be true for this timeline to work? What's the smallest version we could agree to today that still protects your non-negotiables? If you need to say no, do it with a doorway. No to this method, yes to the outcome. No this week, yes next Tuesday, with a draft by end of day. Boundaries wrapped in options are easier to accept. High-stakes conversations at home require special care. Listening doesn't mean surrender. It means you slow the fire long enough to see what you're actually burning. When tempers rise, use a reset line. I care about you, and I care about getting this right. I'm going to take 10 minutes to cool down so I can listen better. Then actually come back. Reliability is the most romantic language on earth. With kids, trade lectures for curiosity. What happened? What were you hoping would happen? What could we try next time? You're training a mind to think, not a soldier to obey. Leadership translates talk less, understand more into better meetings and faster decisions. Start with intent in one sentence and end with who does what by when. During the meeting, harvest dissent on purpose. We'll collect 3 risks before we finalize the plan. If people are quiet, break into pairs for 2 minutes and then share. Small rooms grow voices. Once you decide, summarize the why, not just the what, so absent people can follow the logic, not just the order. Digital life needs its own rules. In text and email, tone gets lost. Over-index on clarity and kindness. Short paragraphs. 1 point per paragraph. 1 ask per message. Mirror back action items and dates. If a thread heats up, lift it to a quick call. 1 minute of voice can fix an hour of misread text. After the call, send a 2-line summary so the record matches the reality. Cognitive traps block understanding, so the author names them and hands you antidotes. Confirmation bias makes you hear only what fits your story. Cure it with steel manning. State the strongest version of their case better than they did, then answer that. The fundamental attribution error makes you blame character for what was actually context. Cure it with this question. What constraints were you under? The illusion of transparency makes you think your tone is obvious when it isn't. Cure it by saying your intent out loud. My goal here is to help us decide, not to win the debate. Power dynamics and culture matter. Some people learned that speaking up is dangerous. Others learned that silence equals weakness. Your job as a listener is to notice the system you're in and create safety within it. Invite quieter voices first. Share airtime deliberately. And when you have positional power, declare how decisions will be made before the debate begins. Are we informing, seeking input, or asking for a vote? Hidden rules create loud resentment. The book offers a toolbox of phrases that save relationships in tight spots. To buy a moment, say, "Let me think out loud for a second." To diffuse, Try the light label. It sounds like we set an expectation we didn't meet. To take ownership cleanly, say, I pushed too hard there. I'm dialing it back. To receive feedback, treat it like a gift bag. Take the useful item, leave the rest. Thank the giver. Practice makes permanent, so there are drills you can do anywhere. The elevator drill. In 10 seconds, mirror one thing you just heard, then ask one open question. The dinner table drill. Each person shares a high and a low from their day, while the others listen without fixing. The meeting drill. Speak in the first 5 minutes with one crisp sentence that moves the goal forward, then spend the next 15 mining for what you don't know yet. The tough talk drill. Write your opener, your summary line, and your respectful ask on a note card. When heat rises, read your card. Don't improvise. Memory supports understanding, and notes are a listening superpower. Keep a living map for each project or relationship. 3 columns do the job. What I heard. What it means. What I'll do. Review before every conversation so you start where they are, not where your to-do list is. End the day by writing tomorrow's first line. A day that ends with a next first line begins with momentum instead of dread. Time management improves when you stop stuffing every minute with speech. The author recommends power silence blocks. 10 minutes of mute thinking before big meetings to write the questions you hope someone asks. 5 minutes after to write decisions and doubts. Those quiet minutes save hours because you captured the logic while it was still warm. Listening to yourself is the well you draw from. Sit with a hard feeling long enough to find the sentence beneath it. I'm not angry. I'm scared my work won't matter. I'm not bored. I'm overwhelmed and need a smaller first step. When you can name your state, you stop dumping it on other people disguised as advice. Your calm becomes contagious. The book gets very practical about voice and pace. Speed is a message. Fast often equals anxious. Slow equals confident and safe. Drop your pitch a touch. Let your sentences land. Leave short, clean spaces between ideas. Those spaces are where people process and where trust grows. If you lose your words, reach for your anchor line. Give me a moment to find the simplest way to say this. Then do exactly that. Here are real-world vignettes that make the lessons stick. A product manager who kept derailing meetings with long explanations tried a 2-line rule for a month. Line 1 was the point. Line 2 was the ask. With the extra space, teammates spoke up sooner. Pitfalls surfaced earlier. Arguments shrank. A nurse who felt invisible during shift handoffs began summarizing the patient's story in under a minute with one risk and one request. Errors dropped and respect rose. A parent who lectured out of love replaced speeches with questions and silence. The teenager began to share because home finally felt like a place where feelings could land without trial. A college coach transformed practices by listening to athletes describe what they sensed in their bodies before offering any drills. Injuries went down and performance went up because plans matched reality instead of theory. To make the ideas automatic, the author lays out a 30-day plan and a 90-day expansion. For 30 days, track 3 signals each day. One moment you chose silence over a reflex answer. One summary that earned a yes, that's right. One question that opened something new. At day 30, read your log. Patterns will jump out. Over the next 90 days, pick one high-stakes arena to combine with listening, coaching, selling, negotiating, leading, and run weekly experiments. Record, review. Refine consistency beats intensity. Brains change with repetition, not revelation. There is a section on multicultural listening that many readers find transformative. Ask yourself what counts as polite in this context. Some cultures see eye contact as respect. Others see it as aggression. Some prefer direct asks. Others prefer stories and context first. If you're not sure, say it. I want to make sure I'm approaching this respectfully. Would you rather I go straight to the point or give a little context? Asking that question signals humility and prevents accidental harm. The author returns often to one rule: speak later. When you feel urgency to jump in, delay one beat. Let the other person finish the paragraph, not just the sentence. In that extra beat, you will often hear the detail that changes the whole direction. When you finally do speak, start with their language. People trust mirrors more than megaphones. Power listening also requires boundaries. Listening without limits turns you into a sponge, not a leader. If a conversation cycles in circles, name it gently. I'm hearing us repeat the same point in different words. Would it help if I try to map what we agree on and what's still open? If someone monopolizes a meeting, intervene with dignity. I want to make space for two voices we haven't heard yet, then we'll come back. Boundaries protect the group and teach healthy norms. Silence is a tool, not a void. There are 3 kinds in the book. Soften silence slows the tempo so emotions can land. Search silence gives the speaker room to find the deeper thought. Seal silence lets a decision settle before you race to the next thing. Practice each kind. Count a slow 3 after someone speaks before you answer. You'll notice people say the truer sentence after the comfortable one. When stakes are high and tension rises, use the triangle of intent, content, and relationship. Intent. Say why you're here in humane words. I'm here to help us choose a path we can stand behind. Content. Share the information clearly and briefly. Relationship. Name your respect. I value working with you and want this to feel fair. When people hear your intent and feel the relationship, they can finally process the content. The book also dives into coaching through listening. Resist the itch to fix. Trade advice for frameworks. Instead of do this, try a sequence. What outcome do you care about? What options exist? What obstacle stands in the way? What's the smallest next step we can test? That structure lets the other person own the solution, which means the solution survives the weekend. Look for the unsaid. People rarely start at the center. They circle. Your job is to notice when a story repeats with new details. That's your hint there's a deeper layer. Ask a gentle probe. What's the part of this that's hardest to say? Or what's the risk here that you feel in your stomach? If they decline, respect the boundary. You planted a seed. It will surface when there's enough safety. To keep yourself honest, practice meta-listening. While you listen to them, occasionally listen to yourself. What story am I trying to defend? What outcome am I clinging to? What fear is tightening my jaw? Name it silently. Loosen your body. Return to them. That quick self-scan keeps your ego from hijacking the moment. There is even a chapter on writing as listening. When you write a memo, imagine the reader interrupting with their worries. Answer those worries on the page. Use headings that are actually summaries, not decorations. End with a short list of decisions and owners. Writing like this is a gift. It lets people understand without a meeting and shows respect for their time. By now, you can feel the theme. Talking is not the enemy. Unskillful talking is. When you talk less and understand more, your words carry the weight of someone who earns every syllable. You don't flood the room, you feed it. You don't overpower emotions, you contain them. You don't win arguments, you dissolve them into decisions. Take one slow breath. In the next 24 hours, choose one real conversation that matters. Enter it with a simple plan. Receive fully. Reflect the gist in one sentence. Ask one open question. Advance with one small next step. Afterward, write 2 short lines about what you learned and how you'll do it again tomorrow. Repeat that loop a handful of times this week. You will notice arguments soften, meetings shorten, and relationships deepen. You will notice that you have more energy because you're not pushing every river. You're guiding the current that's already there. And you'll discover something quietly thrilling. Understanding is influence. When you talk less and understand more, people don't just hear you, they follow you.